But Ion says in the present situation there's not much of any of the categories he's talked about. It's all been completed, resolved, erased, and we're in a totally new situation. And that situation involves being engaged with Ion and his product. That's the only ground. So Ion is the outer kingdom, the new outer kingdom. That one. Ion is the new outer kingdom as a temporary artifact. Does that make sense? Well, Ion was the non-physical, and it's merging with the physical, and for many people's eyeballs, the physical world is the outer kingdom that they see. Many people now know it's more than what you see, so that's the non-physical, or might be the inner kingdom, but I don't think the inner kingdom is emotions. So, the middle kingdom is where we actually live. So Ion is temporarily the outer kingdom as we understand the new post-middle kingdom. Remember, Ion always said that, started saying a few years ago that everything they had said for the first couple of years was for a little minute, for 99%. So all the terms and categories were temporary. So now we're in a new situation, and that's why Ion said, ask your questions again. What was the other statement? Anything we've said doesn't apply. So often Ion is saying new things, like after 2 or 3 years time to pick up, he now says it's empty. So it's a new statement. So he's making new statements about former categories. So we know that the old terms don't apply. So I begin by saying Ion is the new outer kingdom. When you're putting your attention on Ion, the speaking, performing Ion, that is your outer kingdom. It's your outer kingdom. Ion? There seems to be on one level during payday, a more frivolous attitude to what's going on. Then it tries to get serious. They try to get serious when they have the fireside chat with Carolyn. He's not that way with us privately. Me and Carolyn, we have our private sessions. It's pretty much the same. It's progressing forward, and it's obvious where it came from, where it started, and how it got to here. But Ion has changed something in the way it acts and reacts to the payday audience, or anybody who calls in. And Ion's not doing private sessions, so we don't see what Ion does. We don't get to experience Ion in private sessions anymore. That might be like the old Ion, but we don't know yet. We did give Matthew Hurtado a private session a few weeks before he sent out his first cease and desist. He resigned from the Iondom. So that was his reaction to his private session. And in his private session, Ion wasn't that sympathetic. So we told you before, what we told you before you didn't do, and why should we tell you something new? You may not do it. So that's the only private session we've had experience of since I returned for everybody. We've continued having private sessions, and they're the same as always, but always new, interesting information coming out. So some of the old Ionets think Ion is different, and I don't think there's a consensus in how they perceive what is different. I know.
After the difference since the Bobfest.
Big pardon?
After the Bobfest.
There was a difference? You can see?
Yes.
Well, that was, Bobfest was the end of November 2013, and he's not available for 2 months till February 22nd, 2014. So he came back on February 22nd, and you're saying that's, in your experience, like, so how would you describe the difference? What, just, instantly, what is the raw difference?
In both of you.
Oh,
Like,
in both of us.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, good point. Well, after Bobfest was sort of like a celebration of the RNA drops, and after the Bobfest, December, January, we really get serious about bringing forth the living water and the bread of life. So it was moving past the RNA drops, because the RNA drops are preparatory to the bread of life and living water. Also, more progress, great progress is being made with the cold play. So it's, for me, good point. We had gone into operation by February 2014. We had got to the level we've been boasting we were going to get to for 3 or 4 years. We actually started it after Bobfest. So in retrospect, Bobfest was a combination of giving out information, and it was like the history of Bob. Bob with the Evergreens years ago, Bob and CKLN, Bob this, Bob that, and then a lot of Bob stuff in the present during Bobfest interacting with Ion. So yeah, that's a good point. That Bobfest may have been a culmination. See, I never...
that was like the mark of this reset.
The reset, yes. And Ion told us to call it RNA reset. He coined the term reset. He knew a reset. They knew a reset was happening. So, it was good to think about this. I didn't notice it. And it's obvious when you bring it up. I think part of the culmination for Bobfest was that I played a lot of my sacred evergreen sessions that I was not allowed to present in public, like the John Kennedy assassination material on Everson. Really resist playing that. That was said 20 years ago. And Michael Blake Reed had passed on earlier last year. So it was like it wasn't a threat to put out that stuff once he was gone, supposedly gone. So for me, it was a cathartic to play all this great evergreen stuff. So that was something I've been holding back for decades. So once that was out, it was on the record, and there's probably a lot more I could have played, but I got the basics out there. I had completed that. That would be really completing the old Bob before, in a way, we're almost starting to go stealth now, with our projects we're putting forward. Not completed yet, but we're starting to think about it. So I guess Ion, in a way, the payday, Ion is, I don't want to say he's indifferent, but definitely Ion said they're not talking to the 99%ers anymore. They said that a couple of years ago. Only talking to the 1%ers. So you've got to really come across as a 1%er to get something out of Ion. Now, people don't know how to be a 1%er. It's not to be a snob or to be wealthy or anything. It has to be some kind of sincerity and seriousness and study and accomplishment, all within the do-nothing principle.
The relaxing and feel allowed.
Yeah, relax and allow it. And it's interesting how Ion responds to different people. And that's probably the difference. Ion is not playing silly, not putting up with people that had their chance for a few years. There's thousands of hours of material. If you want to take Ion seriously, dwell into it, get into it, and then come up with some good questions. So, does that sound like an accurate, since we never said this before, but does that sound what the change might be? In your experience?
Yes, sometimes I feel frustration
Yeah.
because I have the impression people is not aware that this is not difficult
Right.
talking to us. They take it like
I think it's
casual
JW.
conversation.
Yeah, I think it's JW or a conversation with a human being. Yeah.
And I think we should go beyond personal questions.
Yeah.
How they get money or whatever. I think all this, as you said before, the core of the universe is changing.
Yeah.
We have no idea what's going on, what.
That should be asked about. Not about you. It is about you, but don't make it so obviously about you. Ask about the core and how it's changing. Get some details.
Then, for example, if there is no oxygen,
Yeah.
what are all the implications of that? Because the atmosphere is changing. How is sound going to move? Or what would be the medium of sound if there no sound or
Right. Good point.
water?
Yeah. And Ian says he's qualified that. He said oxygen will be diminished. Maybe only said to Carol and I that the oxygen doesn't completely disappear. But that needs to be asked. You know what I mean? If I ask and you get a certain response. If you ask, it gives a different response. Everybody should be asking the same questions. And then you see what differences people evoke. That'd be interesting. Now there's a person who has expressed great frustration with these sessions since February, the payday session, says the questions are ridiculous, it's boring, it's irritating. And so they've suggested a new format, or they suggested a project that they're going to bring into it. So that's going to be interesting. They suggested a role they could play in evoking more interesting questions or better questions or something more interesting. So we'll see how that, I won't say who that person is, it'll be obvious when we start, which would probably be August 30th, will be our next show. On August 30th, and that person, I assume, will be presenting their idea. So that's good. The people should be trying to come up with new ways of evoking ion.